Sonia Norris. Sonia Norris is a Toronto-based director, deviser, performer, and teacher working internationally with circus, clown, theatre, puppetry, and dance companies, including Handspring Puppet Company, Circanique, the Stratford Festival, Legacy Circus, So Cirque, the Banff Centre Indigenous Dance Program. Most recently, Sonia directed Rochelle Ellie in her one-woman show, Mal, at the Ottawa Fringe Festival, and worked with Vancouver's female clown collective, The Assembly, on their recent production of In a Nutshell. She also teaches and directs social circuits, theatre, puppetry projects, and marginalized communities in Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Canada's Arctic. As a clown, Sonia is now performing inside a garbage can and creating work with WA amputee aerialist Erin Boggs. She trained at École Jacques Lecoq, École Philippe Boyer, the Delarte International School of Physical Theatre, the Playhouse Acting School, and received an MFA in directing from York University. She is currently a PhD candidate at the University of Toronto Centre for Drama, Theatre, and Performance Studies, researching female clown as a practice of survival and performance of failure by those who fail to perform amidst the trauma of happiness in success-oriented cultures. Welcome.
Hi. Just let out.
So please enjoy the talk. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Yeah. You write that.
Good. And that is Christine Lesiak.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Do we have these mics? I'm not sure if we actually need them.
Use them because the AC is really loud.
Oh, okay. And you don't want us to turn the AC off because we'll suffer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
No, don't try.
Thank you for coming tonight. I have come from New York City Clown Festival, where I was sitting on a panel about women in clown just last week. And there seems to be a moment happening because I've been asked to go to England and convene a panel there on women in clown. People are interested. You came. You've come to hear what we're up to and give your opinion about it, hopefully, and ask some questions. So something's going on with the mic as well as, woo, you. Okay, I'm just assuming it'll sort itself out somehow. Something's going on with an interest in women in clown, and I'd like to take advantage of that moment and push it forward because I have this fear that it's just another moment and people will be interested for a second and then we will just fall back into the cracks and become obsolete and uninteresting again. And that seems to be a cycle that has happened before in history. A little bit of interest, and then they disappear, and then somebody says, look, we finally have some female clowns, and it's as if they just appeared for the first time ever, and yet they didn't. But we seem to have that cycle where we disappear and reappear and disappear and reappear. So what is it that is needed? What is it that's needed in order to keep female clowns actually present, of interest to people, and to make them even more interesting in their work? What is it that we can do? What do we need? What the heck is going on with us and our work? Frickin' clowns. Oh yeah, that was excellent. That was so well, we're all the way around it. Excellent. Okay, so because I am engaged at this point in my life in this odd endeavor of a PhD around female clowns, I've been doing all of this reading, which I've never done before about clowns. And I've read several times that female clowns appeared in the 19th century, a gift from the gods, but only in order to fix problems when men were sick, injured, or died. So when those male clowns were no longer available, last ditch resort was to finally pull in that female and stick her in a clown outfit. Completely understandable, but what is shocking to me is that it's 2018 and I've been interviewing a lot of female clowns and I'm hearing the exact same story. The exact same story. Things like, I am brought in to solve a problem. I am the fixer. I won't get hired for the job. A man will get hired for the job. But then when something goes wrong or the man gets a job that he wants more and he leaves, when there's a hole to fill and there's no man, then I will be called in as the fixer, the solution person. So really, what ground have we covered? How have we actually progressed as women in clowning if we're still in the exact same situation? Now, of course, that's an oversimplification and rather dramatic of me, but it's astonishing the similarity of what I'm hearing and what I'm reading from, whatever it is, 150 years ago or something. And I think that it speaks to the fact that at this point, this particular moment, social and political moment, a feminist moment, maybe, hopefully, it's easy for some people to say, yeah, but we're good, like there's equality, right? Women are so much more powerful now, so much stronger, they're Me Too, all of that, and that's great, absolutely, except if things aren't changing, then it seems to me that there's some sort of big cover-up going on, that we're now able to say that there's change, but is there actually tangible change? Are we seeing that? So it's not all dismal, but I hold that question because I'm not seeing enough change, and what I'm interested in is what do we have to do to somehow shift that? What's needed from me as a female clown in my work that would make it, I don't know, speak to this moment more, be of interest to an audience? Or is it just all up to shift, how do we shift society? I don't know, I don't have a solution. I am looking at the problems, and that's what we're going to be doing hopefully tonight with these panelists, is to take a look at what are the possibilities and the pleasures and the problems of women in clowning now that we are experiencing, and is there, who knows, I'm even afraid to say, is there something? Is it something? I don't know. But that's what interests me, and alongside all of the there's no change that I'm saying, I would like to actually point out that this festival has, I do believe, 12 shows in it. Out of those 12 shows, women are in 10. And out of those...
11 and 9.
Pardon me?
11 shows, 9 shows have females.
Okay, thank you. I thought we did the math on this. Okay. And what I counted was that 8 shows were all female. Are we down to 7?
No, it's 8 and then 9 have females, clowns in them.
Yeah, no, but that's an astonishing percentage, I think. And that is worth noting. And so I really thank Vanessa and Kendall for their programming of that, because another issue that I think that we're aware of that is discussed by women in clowning is the difficulty that directors, producers, casting agents have often in believing that they can sell a clown show with women. They can sell funny women. And therefore, are they able to program it and keep their festival alive, which is a very real economic reality, very real reality, there we go. And I would love that to not be true and to just say, fuck that, program them. But I understand that's a reality, and how do we shift that so that there is not a concern, or so that we know that we've actually got an audience for our work that is not just us. Okay. I think that's enough of me going on about that. So I'm interested in, I'll just carry on for a moment while we're just waiting for people. I'm interested in why women choose clown, and why so many more are choosing it now. Why our workshops are full of predominantly female students, and yet there are still not very many jobs out there for us. So why are so many women interested in clown when it is challenging to get work, challenging to be taken seriously for your stupidity, and you must prove yourself funny in a world that generally still believes that women are not as funny as men, and that they shouldn't even be allowed to be funny, because that's upsetting the apple cart. So how can we, as women, playfully engage with presenting stupidity when many women are still combating being considered stupid in life? That's a big question that I have. To play with foolishness when you are historically considered a fool, and to reveal your own stupidity for the purpose of making others laugh when you simultaneously contend with the assumption in your daily life that you are stupid and inconsequential because of your gender, this is not an easy proposition. So, how do we deal with that? And how is that even funny? In a world that is still skewed towards the male perspective on everything, including humor and what is considered funny, what are women clowns doing with the work they are creating and the characters that they are presenting? Are they actually subverting society's vision of female ideals, or simply re-inscribing them with the presentation of women in clown? Is it a radical, subversive, or political act to clown as a woman today? And if so, how is that funny? So we have a panel of artists today who have all dedicated their lives to clown, which I think is an extraordinary thing to do with your life, and all of them have. And they're here to share their differing perspectives on women in clowning. So I'd now like to introduce the panel. I will then pose questions to them, and I will eventually then open it up to all of us to engage in a conversation where I'm hoping you will have questions that you would like to ask and comments that you'd like to share as well. So that's how the evening will go. And I will now introduce us.
Maybe we can push it into this like that we can see.
Absolutely. Oh, can we do that with the lighting, or are we okay? We're being filmed as well. I hope that is okay for everybody in the room, but that's the only concern therefore. Okay. Is that good? Can everybody see? Yep. Terrific. All right. Over on the very end, we have Soizick Hebert, and she is a female clown, juggler, and musician who's been deep diving into the art clownesque for 35 years, performing in solo, duo, and trio acts with Cirque Alloise, Cirque du Soleil, Théâtre Zinzane, and for 20 years with Johnny Fillion as the duo Les Voilà, performing over 6,000 shows internationally. Her clown, Jackie, is notorious as a solo performer, working as a one-woman house band for the famous Clowns Cabaret, and her show Jackie and Edgar was presented at the first Clown Festival of Montreal in 2016. Soizick has also written and directed for Le Théâtre de l'Aubergine, and please excuse my appalling pronunciation, Le Théâtre à Tempo, Les Parfaits Inconnus, La Perle Blanche, and Toxique Trottoir. Trottoir? Très bien. In 2017, she was a co-creator of the all-female Buffon production that is here this year, Les Oubliettes, and performed in Germany with Machine de Cirque. And in 2018, she is developing a new show, Laurette and Arlette, and heading to Cairo to teach a clown workshop at the theater festival in Egypt. And next to her, we have Miranda Warner, who has been performing and teaching clown for many years, traveling the world from Edmonton to Edinburgh, seeking ways to offer clown training to marginalized communities. Miranda is also known as Imogen Quest, the exotic commodity of burlesque, and is a driving force behind hashtag Clowns Kill Empires, an international collective of femme and non-binary clowns whose work is celebrated for combining a keen knowledge of clown and sideshow history with just being really fucking gay. They've curated cabarets for Sinful Sunday, Sunday Strips, Girl Gang Cabaret, Toronto Festival of Clowns, House of Filth, Rhubarb Festival, Too Queer, a Bi-Visibility Cabaret, and Fierce Queerlesque Festival. Miranda is also a member of Les Femmes Fatales, Toronto's Women of Color Burlesque. With a cartoon aesthetic and a true understanding of clown, they have been teasing, pleasing, and confusing audiences for many years to great acclaim. And Miranda will be performing a burlesque clown show in the festival later on this weekend. Beside her is Christine Lesiak. And Christine is an Edmonton-based theater artist, teacher, and mentor specializing in clown, physical storytelling, and interactive theaters. She's program director of Edmonton's Play the Fool Festival of Clown Theater and Physical Comedy, and co-founder of Small Matters Productions. And she is co-creator of and performer of their 6 full-length shows and countless short works, and has performed in festivals across Canada and at the New York Festival of Clowns. And she holds a Master's of Fine Arts in Drama and a Bachelor of Science in Physics. So you're just covering all the bases there. And we have a man on our panel about women in clown, and that is Jon Davison, who has come from England. Excuse me. And Jon has been a clown performer, teacher, director, and writer for more than 35 years. And although he is not a woman clown, Jon is one of the few people who has actually written about women clown, offering the only published chapter attempting to uncover the history of women clowns. This is why he is here with us today. As well as performing solo, he is artistic director of the companies Stupidity and Citizens of Nowhere in London, England, and he's toured festivals, theaters, tents, streets, and bars throughout Europe, from Sicily to the Arctic. Jon taught clown, improvisation, and acting at the Institut del Teatro de Barcelona and was the co-founder and co-director of studies at the Escola de Clown de Barcelona. My Spanish is even worse than my French. It's Catalan. Oh, well, my Catalan is non-existent, so that would explain that one. From 2007 to 2010, Jon was a creative fellow investigating contemporary clown and actor training at the Royal Centre School of Speech and Drama, University of London, and he is the author of 2 books, Clown Readings in Theatre Practice and Clown Training, a Practical Guide, and he is currently preparing 2 new books for publication, The Clowning Workbook, a practical textbook with video, and Clown Theory, a genealogy of contemporary clown. He's the founder and director of the London Clown School. Doloreze Leonard is a founding member of Cirque du Soleil and a member of their first American tour, and she has shared her work all over the world for 38 years, collaborating with companies internationally. Most recently, she's been in Toronto working with the clowns in Angola Murdoch's Circus Riot about the famous Toronto circus riots. A show that will be continuing in 2018, 2019, I believe. She lived in a caravan in Europe and worked in the dinner show Pomp, Duck, and Circumstance as Mistress of Ceremony for 6 years, and for the past 12 years, she performed and collaborated as a director with the Teatro Zinzani. Her clown, Madame Zazu, who many of you probably saw last night, continues to work in Canada creating cabaret, and for the past 11 years, she entertains and organizes events with employees at Cirque du Soleil. Doloreze has toured the world sharing the discipline that she loves and teaching the rich human and creative experience through clowning. And she is performing at the festival in the female Buffon show, Les Oubliettes, on September 15th and 16th. And finally, we have Francine Cote, who is a Montreal clown teacher and director with over 30 years' experience working internationally with circus, cabaret, and theater companies throughout Europe and North America. Her clown duo has played in circus around the globe, including Cirque du Soleil, Cirque Gauloise, and she has worked with the Marie Chouinard. I'm awful with this one. Chouinard, merci, dance. And in 1998, she was honored in Copenhagen with the Golden Noses Award. She has taught at a diverse range of schools, including the National Theatre School, the National Circus School of Montreal, École de l'Humour, Just for Laughs, and the University of Montreal. Francine has dedicated herself to the training of generations of clown performers, developing her own method of teaching the art of bouffon and clown. And she is responsible for the past artistic direction and current training for Dr. Clown. And over the past decade, as the director of the Francine Cote Clown and Comedy School in Montreal, she has become one of the most sought-after clown teachers in this country. And might I just say, I am sorry that the school has closed. But I understand you're moving on to other things. So. And that is our panel. So. Okay, that's it. Now we get a drink, don't we? That was a lot. Okay, so has there been a change in women in clowning? Has there been a shift? It's a big general question. I'm interested in what any of you think about the possibilities of where are we at with clowning with women right now. Is it, have our opportunities shifted? Has the actual work shifted? So there's sort of two parts to that question. You can pick up on any of it in regards to what you have seen, who you have taught, the work that you do yourself. Has there been any change? Is it speaking to our work, to our world now, and the situation of that women are in now? We have two mics. Kendall has the other one, and Francine was that.
I can only talk about my experience of at the clown comedy school and talking with other teachers in Canada and Toronto and stuff. And you said it also that, and I agree that there's more and more. We all felt, all the teachers, that there was a big percentage of women in the workshops. But what I realized, what I saw, is that at the clown comedy school we often had directors or companies sending us audition, this is what's going on, we're looking for people. But the problem is that often it's very vague what they're asking. They're sort of asking just two clowns. And there's no description really of what kind of characters they want. And so when you try to precise what they want, well, they just envision two guys. Or they envision a tall and a short one, or a big one, and there's no description. And if there was, then we could suggest different characters, women or men, that have those stereotypes and those characters. They're not talking about what type of clowns. They're just talking about two clowns, and it's too vague. And so often I'm trying to be a bit more precise so that I can send people for them. And they haven't even thought of having a woman. Or maybe if they're looking for a big gang, okay, they'll think of one. But most of the time, they just image one or two guys. And so often, it's a matter of the casting or the director or the producers that what they're asking is something that it's limited for us to help also.
Anybody else want the mic?
Of course, this is always from one's own personal experience, but I think in terms of the style of performance I'm seeing in women, at least in Western Canada, is 15, even 10 years ago, I think we had a lot of female clowns who would definitely play to female stereotypes a lot more, heightened sexuality, really specific, sort of specifically gendered issue kind of work, and I'm seeing that transform a lot now. I am, certainly at West I am. I'm seeing a lot more gender diverse and gender queer kind of work in terms of my students and applications coming in through my festival. And I also, me as an artist, have realized that I can start working on characters who just happen to be female, but it actually has nothing to do with their gender identity. And for me, as an artist, both as a sort of a general theater artist and as a clown, I think for me that's the really important work when we're no longer saying, oh, that's a female clown. It's like, oh, there's a clown. They just happen to identify as female. But that's across the board generally, I would say, through the arts community anyway. I question how specific a problem this is to clowning, honestly. Yeah.
It's also just sort of a change over, this is a weird mic, of historically, especially over the past, let's say 150 years, women and women identifying people just aren't listening to people who tell them they can't do things as much. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well, where it's like, 100 years ago, you might not have seen as many clowns. A lady might turn up and be like, I want to be a clown. And you'd be like, you can't do that. Go get pregnant. Whereas now it's like they're less likely to accept that as an answer. So I think that also is, it's not as easy to tell women they can't do things as it used to be. So telling women they can't be clowns isn't going to stop them anymore the same way it's not stopping them from doing lots of other things. I would say that I do that clowning adventure since many years, and for sure when I don't know when I started, but I believe I started somewhere. There was not much women making fun of themselves at first, you know, because the end of the whatever the years that I was raised in, you know, women, they had stereotypes, they had to be nice, and you were not allowed to be another face or physical than pretty. You know, the aiming of every woman was to be pretty, to be eventually pregnant and and do jobs. But the jobs as the clowns for lots of other jobs, the women had to fight to you know, like as much as doctors or whatever. People don't want to see a woman doctor, and there are more women doctors than men doctors, whatever. I'm changing subjects about that. Sorry, but more and more I was doing my job, I saw more and more girls and women to involved and interested of working on that, breaking the stereotype and fight to say, yes, I can be funny even if I'm a woman. And I remember I was playing, and most of the time people thought I was a man, because they couldn't figure out that a woman could be pretty and more sexy. I was wearing stuff more men than people thought I was. So it was lots of fighting of saying, yes, I'm a woman, I can be funny, and not having. And I would say what changes in the years is, as we were talking about the roles of a funny woman in a play. I would say many years ago, most of the character I was asked to play was always like the wife of somebody, the mistress of somebody else, the mother of somebody, the daughter of somebody, the neighbor woman, whatever. But never like the first role. I was like, and it reaches somehow what you were saying about filling the hole or get the solution for a problem. You know, sometime in some place, the woman, when there's something wrong, the woman jump into the place. Lots of girls, they came to me, they wanted to do clown because at the school they couldn't, because they were said that they were too pretty to be clown. So I was like, oh, that's very nice for me. It's very great. But you know, so that's but it changes. You know, it changes, and I'm just optimist about that. That it's more we're gonna do it, and I never ask myself, should I do it because I'm a woman. At first, I just do what I need to do.
Actually, last night, well, people know me about Madame Zazou, but actually I had a clown character called Mademoiselle Linda. And she's a security guard woman. And this is my clowning I played since 33 years. I still wear the same costume, believe or not. The zipper in the dress doesn't go up. And this woman, she's a security guard woman. And actually, like Soizick, remember, I mean, I was always playing solo, and definitely I was not nice at all. I was like security guard, so you don't see nothing, no skin. The only skin you saw, it was my knee. Otherwise, I have a cap like that, and I was talking like that, So, and even I cover my breast, putting padding, so like that people don't know, if I have a breast or not, and I always play this character because the fact like I was so unbelievable ugly when I was taking out my costume, and people cannot believe I was like beautiful, and that was always the question, how you can be so ugly when you are beautiful. That was the question, and it was my goal always, because I said, yeah, exactly. How come? So I win my life, my car, my house is paid by Mademoiselle Linda. Before, when I was doing Zinzani and Pomdak and Circumstance, I always do Mademoiselle Linda first for warm up the people, and after that I was changing to do Madame Zezou, and they never believe I can be the same character, For them, for the public, it was not possible. So the fight I had is I was always fighting the fact like people cannot believe I can be so ugly, and it was my determination, the fact like I'm not gonna give up. The thing is, I was putting a little pink underwear with frou-frou, and when someone asked me if you are a woman or a man, I was just lift up my little, and I show them my little pink frou-frou, cover, So I think the woman clown don't have to be shy to be who you are. It's the determination to want to keep going and to believe. In fact, if you have comment and things like that, I mean, that's why, I never had a problem to have a work because I was a woman, because this character. When you talk about MC, a woman MC, this is something else. When you want to have an MC, you like to have a man, often. It's very rare we have a woman MC. You have to fight. But to have a ugly character, for me, I never find a problem to have work because I was ugly and pretend like wearing like a man stuff, and working like a man. Is it clear? No.
Yes, I think so.
I wanted to talk about the ugly thing actually, but I had a thing in my head I wanted to say first, so I'll say that. Maybe the ugly thing will come up again. Obviously, my experience of the issues we're talking about is not a personal experience, obviously. Though in my work in teaching and directing, I also notice how many women are drawn to clowning, drawn to studying it. I'd say, 80% of all of globally of classes and workshops that I give and I see are women. And the company that we have at the moment is 90% or 95% women. So, yeah, I see that as a change, and I'm sure there is that change. But what brought me to look at women clowns was as a historian. So that's how I got into that. So the actual research, and I was interested in looking at how things had changed, because all the things I heard about with the history of women clowns they kind of smelt wrong to me. Like either there were no women clowns in history, or there were 2 or 3, and here are the names. Kind of monumental history, which is the typical thing you get in clown history, men as well. Like there was this one, this one, this one, and this one. As if there was no culture of clowning, or it didn't come from a specific society, which I felt had to be wrong. I believe it's wrong. So I started looking at where are these historical women clowns, and I kind of landed on the period of the new woman, the 1890s, Belle Époque, when in circus generally women were entering circus in a different way. Women have always been in circus, but there was it's the time of female wild animal tamers, Mabel Stark. It's a time when women were the circus, and performing at the circus especially was a place where one could be physically without being corseted. For example, it was the time of when the female body is is in rebellion against the restrictions placed on it. So the circus is an obvious place for that to flourish, and it also flourished with clowns. And then I found various clowns who were all billed as the only lady clown. Yeah, and they're all billed like that. The most well known because of the posters which survive of her is Yvette Matthews from the US, who wore a pretty standard costume for the time, is pretty similar to the men's one of a few decades earlier. I don't know if that's significant. It's kind of out of date costume. But the fact that was a selling point, we have the world's only lady clown. No one did have the world's only lady clown because there were lots of them. And then at the same time, I found some novels by a rather kind of the French literary history wants to forget, Francine Cote, who was a kind of slightly pornographic writer who was interested in circus, who came up with this character called Lulu, who was a circus artist, highly sexualized by the male gaze, and the images of her, obviously fictional drawings, which she didn't exist, are kind of highly pornographic in that sense of what was popular amongst heterosexual men at the time. So that was going on at the same time as the New Woman Clown was going on, and that was very puzzling to me. So I kind of delved into that. But why is this liberated woman happening at the same time as this sexualized by men kind of woman clown? And the Lulu character actually was because of all the other Lulus, which I didn't know, very akin to literary Lulus. Anyway, and then the fact that I was very interested in the history and how it goes on now. So, and I was thinking, well, what are the options now amongst the women I see in class and I've directed or I've watched? And what you said before about the change recently from the kind of, I can't remember how you said, the roles, the typical roles of the woman, the bride or the nun or the whore. That's what I understood what you meant. And I was seeing so much of that, and the options. What are the options? Well, do you have the option of sort of disappearing, but actually you look like a man, like Annie Fatellini, or do you have to play these kind of these set roles that the woman has? And I didn't at that time see that changing, and it looked a bit like 1890s still. So I felt it hadn't changed, but I think recently the whole, in London, the really interesting clowning is happening in the drag king scene. I think because it's a place where the whole possibilities of play with identity from a clown point of view are huge, and that's actually where the best thing is happening now. So I think that's.
I'm gonna come back to what I felt, what I lived when I was working in Europe. Coming back, we're here from Montreal. Obviously, for many of us, that's where it started with the Soizick. That was not the background. We didn't have the background. We didn't have the history. We didn't have those references. So we started a bit by just going for it. Just going for it without knowing all of this history, because it wasn't part of us, right? And that's the generation of Lulu and Soizick and I, and many other ones. And so basically, what I want to say is, because we just jumped on it, and it was just starting, the circus, the clown, we had a place, but it's true that we were often the girl, but we still had a place. And when I started, I did the first European tour with Soizick in London and in France, and the journalists, even when I did Knie at Switzerland after that, these in the 90s, the journalists were always asking me, a woman clown. you know, and they had so few examples. And yes, they talked about Fratellini being dressed as a man, and I was dressed as a woman. But for me, I didn't really know what to say because all my peers were doing the same thing. All my friends from Montreal were also working and playing as women. But it just seemed to be a big difference between our experience because we were so new at it, because the tradition was almost starting at that point, and we hadn't had the weight of that tradition. What I'm worried about is for you guys now, it hasn't grown. Yes, you're growing numbers, you're growing with the art of it, with the culture of what you're bringing, but the market is not growing that much for you guys proportionally of the numbers of women, because we were still not majority when we started in our generation. We were just a few. That's why we know ourselves, each other so much, because we worked a lot together, because we were maybe 6, 7 girls, you know. Whereas now, yes, there's many, and it has flourished, and it has grown, and it has changed, and now there's so many different types of female clowns, which is wonderful. Has it transported to the industry in Canada? I'm not sure. And that's what I think we have to ask us. You have to ask yourself, that's your job now. I think for me is I'm giving you the baton, but that's the real question is it has to be able, the directors and the producers and the companies have to also think of maybe equality, partial.
Can I just riff off of that? Because I would like to just take a look at this, the idea of the possibilities of the female grotesque or being ugly, which has been mentioned a couple of times, because I think it is a potent place of new possibility, maybe not even new, but of a territory that I would be interested to see. Is it possible for us to go further into it? Can we actually get an audience if we do such taboo things as be ugly? And we've heard about some ugliness here in some characters, and the question that came to my mind was, yes, would you be allowed to be ugly if you weren't presenting so much as male? Because both Doloreze and Soizick, you've both spoken about how you are, people are uncertain as to whether you are male or female. And Doloreze, when you spoke about being ugly, you were talking about your male character. Yes? Oh, the one that comes across at times as male, that people think you are male at times. Isn't that the one?
No, they was not thinking I was a maid, but you know, like they don't understand how come I was not
Okay, I got you.
wearing pretty
Yeah.
clothes and all
Yeah.
that stuff,
Right,
you know.
right. Because I'm not sure that I see a whole lot of expansion into the realm of ugliness in a lot of the women clowning that I'm seeing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be playing with your prettiness, and the expectations around that by society is absolutely something that it has a lot of room for us to play with. But in looking at what Francine was just talking about in terms of, and so where do we go from here, and how do we actually cause some change? How do we disrupt expectation? You know, if clown is a performance of failure, which is by those who fail to perform, which is how I choose to define it, especially specific to women in clowning. And if failure is defined as a disruption of expectation, are we disrupting expectations? I guess I would like to see how that plays out. If that was actually the thrust, or to figure out how do we disrupt expectations and still get an audience without them going, oh my God, taboo, you are ugly, and you're funny, and you're too much probably of all of that, and we just want no, and we shut it down. Is there a possibility in the world of bouffon, which is something that I would like to put to the panel? Is there a possibility for us with the form of bouffon to offer a chance to reactivate and renegotiate our presence as women through the grotesque? And is it possible to get an audience? And I had a fantastic conversation with somebody who is in our audience now last night about exactly this in regards to the bouffon show that is happening here in Les Oubliettes, that really made me think a lot about it. And I'm interested to know if there's a response. Many of you are bouffons and teach bouffon and have a lot to say about that. And is there a possibility that we have not yet had a chance to mine? And how do we do that so that a show such as what I was talking to Melanie about, Les Oubliettes, does not then disappear because there's nobody who would actually buy that show because they're afraid they wouldn't get an audience for it. That realm. Anything?
I've seen a number of female bouffon shows that do get audience. I would say, I'm thinking in particular Deanna Fleischer's about Kapinski. Yeah. Although she does present as male, or at least gender kind of questionable through most of that show. That show is ripped up Edinburgh for several years now. So that's a real specific example. And at the Edmonton Fringe this year, we're fortunate that we're the largest fringe in North America, so we get a lot of really interesting acts through. And I've seen quite a few female duo bouffon shows that were excellent. I think it hits the same issue that bouffon does generally, where how many bouffon shows can you think of that have kind of made it big? I can think of Buck Kapinski, I can think of Red Bastard. I'd love, anyone else? Got any more to throw out there? Right, I think bouffon itself is a really
Hard sale.
difficult sell. Exactly, it's a very hard sell. But I do see the work, and I see the work, and the quality of work in women is just the same as men. And that's again another one of those places where I'm seeing it not being specifically about gender, even though we're looking at performers who are obviously female.
It's question time. I have this thing about Buffon. I describe myself as being academically fascinated with Buffon, where I love seeing it. I'm really, really supportive of seeing good Buffon, but like as a person of color, like I've never been to a Buffon workshop where it's like, how close do we get to blackface if we're not actually in blackface? So it's really hard for people of color to be around Buffon because it turns into a lot of like white people playing oppression, like straight up. Is how I'll phrase it. And I'm super like I want it to be good. I want to see great shit, but I've never been to a workshop that hasn't had like one white person either in full blackface or partially in blackface or taping their face in some way to make them look Asian, where it turns into this game of like ugliness is otherness in a way that if you're a person of color in these spaces, it's fucking shitty. And like we have trouble participating in this space because of it. Super supportive of the form, but it's just like I can't access this. And it's interesting because it's like a form of clowning that is about oppression. So it turns into this game where it's like people that do experience oppression are being access to the training and like the art that could come out of that, people that are actually oppressed. Where you end up with a lot of people that have a lot of privilege that have access to this training who are like playing at being oppressed and sort of guessing at what oppression feels like. And that in itself, like there is like a Buffon in white people playing at oppression. And like and being like, oh, let me see what it's like to be oppressed. And like that is something that like in itself could evolve into a different art form, but it's like it's a tricky thing for me to be around a lot of the time. Just a lot of blackface and Buffon. Like that is a thing.
I'm just going to throw in also the limb thing, the stumps. We got to not do that anymore, people. We'll talk about that later.
I just would like to answer. We're gonna do the Buffon show on Saturday and Sunday. So first, we're gonna see if we are popular or not, if we're gonna have an audience or not. So that's gonna be the first thing. And we have a black person on our show. We have a little short one. And last year, when there was 8 women, we have an Amerindian woman, we had a Tunisian woman, so we had different kind of people, you know, and that's why with Melanie, you know, the casting, she want to do like different kind of woman, you know. So, and actually, the black woman in the show, she's talking about she's black. She used that. The Buffon, you know, it's not everybody can play Buffon, you know. It's not, Buffon, it's an art. Like a clown is an art, but Buffon, it's an art. It's about the talking, you know, how you're gonna talk, how you're gonna say something, you know, it's gonna go under. It's the parodie. It's to have the devil in the eyes. How you say something. I would like to give you an example about last night. Madame Zazou, she's a clown. Because, you know, when she was pretending, she did her tits, you know, and she put her like that. The first thing she want to have a laugh. That's the objective. She want to make people laugh. When you're gonna come to see the Buffon show, she have the same tits, but triple, even four, you know. I have tits until here. And instead than to play like that, I'm gonna play like that. Very, very small. So that's completely another way how to think. So, you know, like, it's not because you do clown, you can do Buffon, you know, that's not true, you know, it's like, it's not because you do mime, you can do tap dance or whatever, it's an art. And also, it's an art because Francine and us, and me, we did a Buffon show here, which year in 18, with Philippe Gaulier, 88, 87, and we was doing a show about Jesus, l'Esprit and God, and we had people in the theater because we were speaking about God and
There were people that were frustrated that we were ugly. Yeah. Like from theater world even going, oh my God, it hurts me to see you so ugly. Which I don't think that would happen now, you know? But we really did live it, you know, that we were all like, we were really excited about our show. And then there's somebody telling us that, I feel bad because you're so ugly. We're going, yeah, well, no, that's the character. So, but that's past, I think. Yeah.
But that's why just to finish to wrap this. So a buffoon, it's a you take a chance when you play buffoon, when you act like a buffoon. What you say, for sure, you never know when someone's gonna throw you oranges and banana. That's why before you have to be a lot of people together. You know, one buffoon in the stage, it's not good. Like Melanie last night, she take very much a big chance to be by herself. Because a buffoon, it's too fragile to be by yourself. They have to be like a gang, a troop. But this is also a philosophy. It's a concept how to think. The way you're gonna say something very bad, but how you're gonna say something bad, but you're gonna make people laugh. So they have a way, a philosophy of thinking about that. And the fact like they are ugly, they are not ugly. They exaggerate themselves. That's not the same thing, you know. Like me, I don't feel I'm ugly. Like my buffoon is not ugly. I just exaggerate my breast, and because I exaggerate my breast, so that means my column vertebrale is that. So I have a big column vertebrale, and because I'm old, I have a pampers because I shit on my pamper because so I believe I found a big pampers, but I'm not ugly. I just exaggerate it. So that's not the same thing like to say we are ugly. It's about you exaggerate yourself.
Yes, and then there's another one there.
Do you need this?
I don't know whether it goes there.
Has anyone seen Reina von Waldenberg's show 13-Minute Madness? Okay, so this is 13 female Buffon performers retelling the story of when the character discovers, like these are the different aspects of her psyche when she discovers she's been molested by her grandfather. She like has a memory, like a reconnection with that memory.
and it's brilliant. It's like incredible, and the audience was spellbound. And at the end of the show, no one can even move. And when I think about that piece and how it affected me, and like what the role of like the presence of women, the presence of confronting what's dark in the psyche, and using humor and using the conflict to like unify and like bring catharsis. I think that's where women are headed, and I think it might take a little time for us to find the market, maybe. But the psychology of like a modern audience is developing, and I could feel the resonance in the room, like everyone connected on a really deep level. I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know much about marketing, but I think that that was a potent piece of art, and that was women, that was clown, that was Buffon, and it was like, yeah, I think that's where we're going, to something very psychologically potent and aware, and using the catharsis of these tools to like actually communicate human story.
Could you just say the performer's name again?
I can't pronounce it very well, but I think it's kind of on
Waldenberg.
Waldenberg. Okay, and
Was
this,
that the Vancouver Fringe?
he was at the Vancouver Fringe last year. She's still working it.
And Vancouver mostly.
13-Minute Madness, I think. Was the title.
Well, I love hearing about that.
So yeah, I feel like it's coming. It's like we're doing it. It's like the way people are storytelling is changing. Like the fact that we're allowed to identify, like the commonality of identifying how you want to as a conversation. It's like we're on the edge. In terms of marketing, I don't know, but like I feel it coming. So I feel like a force is brewing. Yeah.
Good. I love that. Now there was somebody else that had a question, right?
No, I was just pointing at her question.
Oh.
I just would like to tell you, in '83 we began to do a buffoon troupe here in Montreal called Les Bouffons de Bullion, and we was about, would like to say 4 years, quite popular, but the head, the two boys was there, they died, and after that, I would like to say the troupe, because let's say the master died, so it was like slowly going slow down, but nobody else in Montreal had made a buffoon troupe, It's just beginning again, because I was teaching with Melanie and things like that, and I was teaching also around the world, but yeah, so it's coming back, and I'm happy about that. I think this, you raise your hand? Oh no, you just scratch your head.
No, no, here, use the mic.
If there's any comments on Neo Buffon by Karen Hines.
I can say for my festival, it's mostly what I program. Like in terms of, and so Neo Buffon takes the affliction and internalizes it. So, for instance, this year we have a piece called Lady Be Good, which is two very white women playing former beauty queens, but their whole comment is about white privilege. It's, I haven't seen this new version, but the version last year was very good. So, and I have to for me, as a teacher, when students come to me with Buffon work, I frequently ask them, if you were to place this character with an internal infliction as opposed to an external manifestation, what would that look like? Who would this person be if they were just in a coffee shop? That's often what I ask.
I just want to come back to the ugly thing, and Miranda, what you were saying about the Buffon thing before, about how it presents. And I don't really want to say anything about Buffon because it's not my area and I don't feel qualified. But the ugly thing is an interesting thing, again, historically, without going into history, but cross-culturally. I mean, Mandarin Chinese, the word for clown is also the word for ugly. So it's used one bit of the word for ugly in the clown word. So it's one of those things that, conventionally it's around, we think that clowns are supposed to be ugly in the sense that, ugly means that you won't be successful and rich and famous and beautiful in that sense. But I think the ugly thing is also potentially a trap, because what's the definition of ugly? And I would even think, well, perhaps for what, how do you know that a woman is supposed to be ugly when you see talking about women clowns? Well, isn't one of the conventional markers of that looking like a man in a way? So, I mean, in a sense, that's a trap. And then, as you were saying, the whole history of, which I think is still underlying what we do, of the ethnic comics. I don't know what it was like in Canada, but in the States, you know, the ethnic humor, the ethnic comic. You know, so you have your Dutch comic, your Jewish comic, your blackface, and your Italian. You know, and even in one famous family, the Marx Brothers, you know, you have 3 different nationalities. You know, the Jewish Groucho, the Italian Chico, and the Irish Harpo. So that tradition of who are the clowns? How do they present socially? I mean, I don't really understand clown as an individual or a psychological or an internal thing. I understand it as a social practice that clowns are identified socially within the culture that they are, and that's how we know the clowns and how they work. So socially, historically, who were the clowns? Well, in the case of the US late 19th century clowns, they were the so-called ethnic comics, basically immigrants or recently freed slaves. The whole history of tramp clowns comes from blackface. So most people think it's the 1930s, 1920s kind of thing. It's popularized, but it comes from the Civil War in America. So the whole business of what is a clown, how do we know it's a clown? Well, because it looks like someone who has no power. Yeah? So person of color, immigrants, person with disability, woman perhaps not straight. So what do you do with that? If that is the representation of what a clown is, that's a kind of pretty shameful underlying thing of what we do. I think. So that's kind of why I'm interested in it, because I don't know what to do with that, especially as a white heterosexual man from Europe. You know, well, what the fuck? What am I? Do I have to play, like you're saying? Do I have to pretend to be the person with no power? Or what is that clown? But the clown, in a way, is all the shitty people in society. You know, the people who say, "Oh, yeah, you're crap." And what do we do with that? Yeah, we can turn it into positive. But if you identify as one of those groups, then what do you do? I don't know.
There are a lot of shitty white men, so you're probably okay.
That's it. That's all I got. Does that inspire anything? Anybody over there?
Well, I would make a bridge in between the fact that you said the fact that why the ugliness as to why we start with that, but and I would say like that microphone is very loud, sorry. The role we have is not only we have to caricaturize ourselves as a clown, let's say, but if you're a woman on the top of that, and you're an older woman on the top of that, so it makes a lots of layers before getting serious. You know that your job is serious because at first you're playing ugly, you're playing stupid, and you're a woman and you're older, whatever. So as the market as well, we were talking about filling the hole or something. Recently, most of the contract that I have is there's a problem somewhere. So I say, help us, we have a problem, can you solve it in 2 days? We have a premiere in 2 days. And you hear that they have months to do something, and then he call you at the last minute, can you do something? And if that thing doesn't work, or somebody gets ill or on a show, so I say, can you replace that person? It would be so nice. But at the same time, you have like 2 days to turn around and just give the which is good in a way because they ask me to help, and I'm always willing to do that thing. But at the same time, it's very frustrating to not be at the first step of the creation, and if I would have known of that thing, I would have suggested something totally different from the first step of the creation for the clowns part, I would say. It's because it's a process, and you cannot say, okay, be funny right now, and then you get your new props, there's 3 gadgets in it, and you have like 15 minutes to hold it and find a way to put it, and how it works, and how to get funny with it and stuff. And I'm not exaggerating, you know, it's often this way, you know. So it's a matter of respecting the clown job at first, and I mean the woman, it's even worse because even the clown at first it's hard to sell and it's hard to be serious, and even if there's some famous troupe and famous people and stuff, it's always a fight about that, you know. And so I was making a bridge in between you think, okay, you don't feel what it is, and then you're another woman, and we have to fight, yeah.
Yeah, and the obvious issue that comes along with not being given the job in the first place, but rushing in at the last moment, is that then there you are, not given the opportunity to do the best job or to create the best work, and seems, I fear that this then just buys right into the idea that women are not as funny as men. Well, they're not, sure as hell not going to be as funny as men if they're not given 6 months to create the show, or 6 weeks, or whatever it is, and they're given 2 days and somebody else's props and told what the scene is, and it was created by a man. And I do think there's a difference between, you know, we haven't touched on this, but you know, what is different between the funny of female and the funny of men, and so that just increases that problem. So this is a question that God knows, if we had the answer, then we would already do it. But how do we then move forward? How do we not just stay at the same place? I loved what you had to say, because there is hope in that, and it's fantastic. I really like it. But how do we shift things that it's the woman who gets the job in the goddamn first place, frankly, and not as the gap filler for in 2 days? And is there an action plan? Is there a something that we could do? Is it that we say no more little girls, no more brides, no more washerwomen, no more prostitutes, no more nuns, teachers, and librarians? Damn. Well, then I'm not allowed on stage, because unfortunately I fit into one of those categories. Used to wear the bridesmaid's dress, but now I'm too fat, so I had to upgrade to the bride's dress because it was the only one I had that fit. So there I am, standing there in a frickin' bride's dress, and wondering what the heck am I doing with my clown and playing a lady, because it's kind of fun, because I don't do it in life, you know, and I get to wear high heels and teeter around like an idiot. It's questionable. I find it questionable, and yet I also have pleasure to do it. But I think it is very tricky territory. Do we take those things away, and then we take away our pleasure? But do we actually need to take? What would happen? I guess I would be interested to see what would happen if we said, all right, you're not allowed to use any of those. Now what are you going to do? Because all of those are sexually constructed roles for male gaze. This all sounds like very academic and all, but it's true. There is sexuality placed in all of those roles. So there's no neutral. Whereas I think there can be neutral in sort of the male loser. The male image of failure is not a sexualized image, but the female or the woman-identified image of failure has to do with things that we've talked about here. It has to do with you're too old, you're too ugly, you're too stupid. What else do we have here? You're really too not sexually engaging enough, so you're dried up, essentially. Or you're non-sexual because you're a nun. You know, but they're all sexualized and sexually inflected images that we're playing with the little girls. Big sexual fantasies going on there. And so that I can't think of one of those stereotypes that isn't sexually inflected. And so is it that we have to get rid of them in order to demand ourselves to find a new way to play? And yet I don't want to get rid of our pleasure, and there is pleasure in that. So I don't have an answer to that. Does anybody have a response to that? And I'd also, great. And I'd really love to take some questions from the audience if there are questions at this time.
Okay, so I'm gonna look at this in two sections. We're gonna look at this from clowns and gender, and then also clowns and sex. So here's the, I identify as non-binary. My clown troupe, Clowns for Vampires, most of us primarily identify as non-binary performers. And here's the thing, on and off stage, we all kind of adhere to the fact that like gender and gender binary is a fucking joke. So a lot of the work that we create is working around these constructs where it's like high femme, high masculine, some combination of the things. Like these are all socially constructed archetypes that we have put so much faith and value in that we're literally living our lives up to including this panel. Like we're living our lives by this binary, but like who's to say we can't? Like, you want to dress up in, like, a masculine presenting attire and have people not sure and have that be confusing, that's super fucking valid. Like, you don't have to, but, like, femininity is a joke. And, like, adhering to the principles of femininity and what is, and so that might have to do with, like, the increase in female clowns. It's just recognizing, like, being forced into these feminine archetypes all the time. And just, like, what a fucking joke that is, like, to just to be a woman. And here we are, and there's a bunch of us, but also like removing sexuality and like making sexuality isn't inherently feminine, isn't inherently masculine, it isn't inherently relevant for that matter. But the thing is like, there is, I was talking to someone about this yesterday, I had a great pull quote, where it was like, sex is inherently funny, and it's also impacted by the politics of society, and therefore sex and clowning go hand in hand. And that's very important to remember, because in this conversation, it's really interesting. People overlook the amount, the interplay between sex workers and clowns, and how that is valid. And that was the conversation. I was talking to a sex worker who does work as a clown. Sometimes these things intersect, sometimes they do not. But it's just like, sex is fun. So like, why try to remove the fun out of it to make it theater? Gender is fucking hilarious. So like, trying to make that a serious situation in your art is like, yeah, great, you can focus on a gender binary all you want, but that's very limiting, I find.
Are there any questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, just quickly. I think that's why I feel now, and why I'm saying what I said before, that what's happening in clowning where I'm is queer. So it's non-binary, and it's because it is a joke. Because otherwise you're just in this trap, you know. It just backwards and forwards, like the thing about the ugly thing. You know? I think that's the only way out, and that's like you said before. These problems about clowns, or it's the same problems we have with everything. Really, So the clowns aren't special people. You know, we're just doing what we do with the same issues that everyone else has. So I think that's where we're at.
Anybody else up there? Does anybody have a question or a comment? Oh.
I just want to add something about the situation in Dr. Clown in Montreal, because it's but there's not in the panel one of the women, Dr. Clown. I want to talk about Dr. Clown and women. Now in Montreal, there's 43 clowns, some in Quebec, some in Montreal, and 2/3 of the clowns are women. And we see beautiful women, and the belle visite, it's for the older people. And this is the concept. And for Dr. Clowns, there are all kind of beautiful characters. And I think the women fit really, really well in clown, therapeutic clown. There's a place for that for women. It's incredible. when I work with them, with the girls, it's just so fun. The sensitivity they have and the way they work, and it's just a pleasure to see that and work with them. So I just want to add that because it's not in the panel today. I know Francine directed a lot of that, and I think it's a big place in the future for women in therapeutic clown. I just want to add that. Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question? Yes.
Okay. My question is, do you think by rewriting a contract between the clown and the audience, because usually there is like a contract that the clown gonna make us laugh, so do we, by changing this contract, will give more spaces for any kind of clown, whether a female, male, a homosexual clown, to get varieties in performing? Like homosexuality is always performed in comedy as drag or sex. And we had an experience with Francine about a gay wedding proposal. So we didn't get any laugh because it was so sensual, but we get cried. So people were very like, oh, you know, and we get tears. So my question is, does a clown, by changing what he aims to get from the audience, can give this the liberty to get more personalities or to get more varieties in how to present yourself in it? And I think that's the difference between the buffon and the clown. Like, the audience come to the buffon expected not to laugh, but expecting to see the chaos and the violence in a way, wherever. But when they come to see clown, they expect to see comedy, to laugh. And then what makes us laugh? It's in a way very limited, plus minus, because it's the taboos, it's sex, it is. So maybe we should reconsider what do we expect from the public as a clowns first.
Does anybody on the panel have anything to say about that?
It's a very good question, because what is a clown? I mean, that's a question, you know, because this kind of clown, when I saw you, for me, this is a poetic clown, you know. So, and they have a gross clown. So, you know, to be a clown, where you want to go, that's why I say, I'm going to say in French, because I don't know how to say in English, but it's to put la commissure des lèvres vers le haut. It's to try to bring the minimum, the mouth, a little bit with this. Do you have to arrive to a big a laugh, you know, or just like, even if you come, just if you just arrive at that point, make just that, you know, it's already, you change the mood, you know. That's the thing, is that a clown is not, and you're exactly right, we have to change the mentality of the public to say a clown, you're gonna have a big fun and laughing, and you know, they have different kind of clown, and that's why having more clown, more type of clown, be more specific and unique. We have everybody more, we're gonna have more people gonna see different things, different type of clown, different type of laughing, you know. So it's gonna be, it's begin to be like the beginning. Me, I'm more positive than negative. I think to see you guys today, I don't think so. 25 years ago, there was anybody else, you know. So now for me to see that more and more, Francine, she teach, people are more and more interesting, and that's true what Jean said about the Dr. Clown, have more and more, and well, yeah, maybe women are good to be like therapeutic, and they bring like a mother, they have like this kind of sensibility. So maybe for women to be a clown, maybe that's a good way to go. You know, I don't want to say we have to just go there, but we have the spirit, we have the sensibility, and you make people laughing a little bit. You bring joy. Actually, it's bringing joy, bringing happiness. You know. So how you bring that? You know. So it's time to change. I also, yeah, it's true, you're right, Abed, it was really touching and people were surprised by not focusing on the homosexual relationship, but just being touched by it. It was just a love story, basically, and that's why, and I agree with you. But I wanted to go back just a bit to this different sense of humor of women and men, and I think also a different sense of humor of French and English. I think is also part of it. Here we are, and I think that as women, as in the society, we're more used to seeing the male humor, and it's part of who we are because we've seen it since we're kids. And maybe as a woman, female humor is developing now, and not the whole public is understanding. I felt that with directors. I felt that with, and the difference when there is a colleague or a director, male colleague or a male director that does understand the female humor. You do feel the difference as an artist. You do feel a difference as a colleague because there's a dynamic that builds with the two, and that's we're doing. We're doing forward, but we're still the baby steps. They're still. When you really look back after the last 40 years, we have gone forward, but it's still, as a women humor, I think that the public is discovering with us the humor. You're developing this. As much as we sort of put the grounds in, you're developing it right now. And the public is following, but it's not as understanding everything right away. And I think that maybe also there's a big difference in the reality of, for us, seeing, because a lot of us come from the circus and coming from theater. I've lived the both, and that's also two different reality for the clowns. So in the circus, yes, your job is to bring poetry or to make people laugh. That is your job as a clown in the circus. If there's no or there's no ha, you're not doing your job. That's it. That's what it is. That's it.
But if I can add something about the future, and I mean the present and our future, I think we have to keep going and continue to present act with feminine actress in there, and I mean you and me, and I don't know you personally, but I mean I coach people women that wants to fit into audition for shows or whatever, and even if we know in advance that it's not because she's not good or whatever, their chances are gonna be low. But I believe that more we're gonna continue to present, and as us as older and our colleagues, the directors and our colleagues that have big producers or something, we have to continue to tease them to say why again. Two guys and not two girls are doing the thing, and we know common colleagues that yes, but we have a new director, and even if the director is a female, it doesn't mean that she's gonna hire a woman as well. I mean, there's a team, but still. So I think we have to continue to keep on presenting quality stuff and funny stuff, and we all work hard to do our things, and so do we. And I think it's good that lots of women does the thing. That means I think in my dictionary the caliber of everybody's gonna go up too, because everybody's gonna get good and better and good. So they're gonna be obliged to hire us because it's gonna be the best.
Okay. We are essentially at time, although we started a bit late. I still have about 16 questions that I didn't get to. If you're all okay to just sit tight? No, I won't put you through that. So I was going to ask though, did anybody have anything else that they either would like to add to the pot? And specifically, does anybody else have any suggestion of where we need to go, or is that just too big of a question? I really love, as I said, what I heard over here, and also this idea that then Francine sort of jumped on, where you said a different kind of laughter, a different sort of laughter. How do we incite, is what it made me think, a different sort of laughter, because it's not just about what we create, it is about getting the response from an audience, and how do we shift that, which is really what we're sitting here talking about, right, is how do we shift what an audience is responding to. And that's a big question, a big ask. And I think you're right, it takes time. And you said over here, I'm getting tired of waiting, but you know, there you go. But does anybody have anything that they would like to add from the panel? And I'll get to you.
Just about what to do. That for me, artistically, is to put if you have a problem, I don't know how to solve this problem, then that's what you put. That's what you do. That's what you put on the stage or wherever you perform, and you put that problem out there in front. So if we don't know how can we change the situation with the options for a female clown. So I don't know. So that's your show. I don't know what my options are. You know? So that's funny. That comes back to the thing. Gender is funny, or the problem is funny. The fact we don't know what to do, that's the funny bit. That's what I'd say.
Good evening, my name is Ekaterina. I'm a Russian actress and mime and sometimes clown, in life, because humor helps to still alive. As we know, each country has hard history, and on the women's shoulders was a lot of things to care about: family, about land, about home, about men, about kids, and herself. And she has not time, maybe just for simple smile. Like you said, 150 years ago. But now, history pushing us to be more independent, and we start to be smile and laugh. And what is hard and important at the same moment for the woman? We have to be beautiful, yes. Again, it's like classic, that man can enjoy a woman from his eyes. And she too. But what is hard for a woman to find in herself? It's a self-ironic. And what is help to her? Laugh at herself. Because before, if somebody will laugh at you, you will cry. Why? But now, I will be so happy if somebody will laugh at me. If something I will do funny or horrible, or something outside of the rules. From the soft way, because I'm too traditional, too classic person. And like Buffon, for me, I had few classes I have to try. Was wake up some feelings in me, what I didn't wait for myself. I'm surprised. It was fun. And I'm glad that women start to be more brave to make these steps for the art, in the art. Because she is the art. And maybe to grow up this direction for women, it's be brave, love herself, because this love make you breathe more wider, and just believe in yourself, because a lot of things would make us not believe to ourselves. Be scared, be shy, and my experience is Russian actors. I have few friends who start to be clowns, It was not easy way because yes, if you come to the theater and watch it was with me, you will get audition, but an answer will be, thank you so much for your time, but we need man, an actor. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 theaters, and you're like, what I have to do? If this is my profession, I make from this money for my piece of the bread. And you just create yourself. It's pushing you to make your own world with your numbers, with your atmosphere, with your feelings. And wow, it's such a great feelings of this freedom of the art. And I just wish to each person here, a man and woman, just believe in yourself, do how you feel, because art, this is wonderful because it's different sides of this, and colors, and sizes, and smiles. And just God bless you, it's American word, but you know, but really, I want that woman will be shy on the stage, and audience will come and will enjoy this. And of course, together with men, because we are human. Peace and love. Thank you so much.
Well, I'd like that to be true too. Not sure how to make it happen. Yes. Okay, I know that we are over time. Is there anybody else that needs to add 2 cents? Yes. Sorry, but we're gonna have one more.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to talk because this is not my language, and I think it's really important, and I would like to say it in French, so I will express myself really better, but I think it's more important than the language. So I just want to say that for me, as a clown from my mama there, for me, clown is just to express the humanity, and to be a window that we can see ourselves and let people see themselves. And I think for women here from Quebec, at least, we have the vote since 1940, so it's been not a long time. We have the right to talk. So I think as a clown, we are not ugly. We are women, and women to be angry, it's not allowed. So I'm not pretty as a clown because I don't have that in me, and I'm human. And it's not because I have feelings and I express them that I'm ugly. And I think more and more we're gonna get there. I think part of the solution is to keep trying and to keep make people hear our voice, because we are not used to, since a long time, to hear woman's voice, and not as a femme valoir. We are not the partner of a man now. We own ourselves with all our beauty, our lights, and our darkness, and we have to be proud of it because that's part of humanity. Sorry. And I think that's why we say it, we are going now this year with a bouffon, because I think as a clown, I spoke, I reveal myself, and now as a bouffon, I think I have to make a statement that it's not my fault, it's our society, and it's part of me, it's my fault, it's part of the man, it's part of the society, and that's what the show is about. Is the bouffon will not feel the oppression, they will say where we are now. So it's just like now here we are, and as women, what we are facing and what we allow ourselves to pass through. Like, yeah, I need high heels, and no, I don't. So I think both of them, clowns are essential for as human, for us to see ourselves and to feel, receive, and as bouffon, it's really useful and essential too, to make a point. Okay, today, here what we have to deal with. So, and part of the solution is we never give up, and we continue to show ourselves, and that people will get used to hear our voices and enjoy it.
Thank you. I would actually like to leave it on that. I think that was beautifully articulated. You have absolutely no problem in expressing yourself in English. I think those are fabulous, fabulous ideas and thoughts and truths. I agree with what you just said. So I would like to leave it on that. And I'd like to thank all of our panelists. Thank you so much for coming. And thank all of you for being here and for being interested. Yeah. And thank you to Kendall and to Vanessa for programming this. And go see all those shows. There's amazing shows. Many of those performers are in this room tonight. Yes, would you like to plug your show? Nice Moral Jazz.
Philip and Lucinda show and Ralph Double Bill. We're on tomorrow at 6 p.m. and then Saturday at 5:45.
Who else do we have?
Fever Dreams.
Yeah. Fever Dreams.
And the
Dancing Queen.
Tomorrow at 8:30.
Fantastic. And any other shows?
Le
Yes.
Ciel Rouge. Le Ciel Rouge.
Okay.
Le Ciel Rouge at 7:15, I think, tomorrow, and 4 p.m. Saturday.
Fantastic.
And Les Oubliettes at Saturday 7 and Sunday 3:30.
And
Cabaret de la Petite
last
night.
Sunday.
Yep.
Big party.
Excellent. And
Don't forget the Grand in the Sill, Saturday night. Still looking for volunteers. Grand in the Sill performance.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.